Sewing Bee, episode 2. I've done all the workout, so you can just sit back, relax, and see what I thought of episode 2. My name's Sam and welcome to my channel, So Let's Sparkle with Sam. So it is my sewing synopsis time. It is episode 2. If you have not watched, then you might want to go away and come back when you have had a watch. But before I go on to what I thought of episode 2, I am going to slot in a little footage of my son, who is aka Baby Sparkles. He appears in some of my videos from time to time. So he decided that he wants to be part of my vlog this year, of my Sewing Bee vlog. So he has watched episode 1 and this is his true opinion of what he thought. I will just add, he's not a sewer. The only thing that he's learned about sewing is the fact that I sew, and I came into sewing quite late in life, so he's not grown up with me sewing. But bless his heart, he loves the fact that I have a hobby that I love and he likes to be part of it. So yeah, so here's Baby Sparkles of what he thought of episode 1.
Hi everyone, it's Baby Sparkles. I watched Sewing Bee week 1 with my mum. It was her 4th watch. And I've just got a few thoughts for you. First of all, I watched it with mum on her 4th watch. But she did notice something that she hadn't noticed on the previous 3 watches, which was that, they changed the sewing machines. They're not 5.6.0s or something like that. To which I replied, Mum, you're a massive nerd. And speaking of massive nerds, I liked Kit and Orla, but I think I really like them, but because of the way they are, I know my mum is going to form a massive protective maternal bond over them, which means by extension I have to form a sort of sibling bond with them, which means I have to irrationally dislike them for no reason whatsoever. So screw you guys, Kit and Orla. Gaynor is my current favourite because she's just a nan. I think every fabric she chooses is going to look like a nice tablecloth or tea towel, and that's okay because that's what nans do, and who are we to try and change that? So I love you, Gaynor. Stay being Gaynor. My current favourite to win, I know it's early, but I'm picking Stuart. Here are the things that I currently know about Stuart. His name is Stuart, and that's about it. But I know I've got a hunch. I believe in you, Stu. You can do it. Big twist at the end of the episode. No one went home because the bus driver wasn't feeling very well. Why do they do that every week? Just every week, just have someone be ill, and then the final episode, they just eliminate all 11 of them, and it's oh, there you go, you win. Maybe that's why it was delayed for so long. It was just continually people just kept getting ill, and so they had to draft Kyle Smith-Bino back in because Sarah Pascoe got pregnant again. It was just continually just illness after illness after illness. But yeah, overall, I'm not sensing much of a gap in talent. Not that I know anything about sewing, but there didn't seem to be that big of a level between the sewers at this point. The only massive gap in the show is that of between 3'2" Esme and 8'9" Patrick. That is any director of photography's nightmare. But yeah, that was me watching Sewing Bee basically for the first time properly. It was good fun. I'll see you next week.
So there you go. That's what Joe thought. That's what Baby Sparkles thought of episode 1. So bless him. So I'm going to talk about episode 2. So I'm going to get my trusty notebook out. Here it is. My So Let's Sparkle Bee notebook. And let you know what I thought of episode 2. So those of you that haven't watched the episode 1, my episode 1 vlog, one of the contestants was a bit poorly. So Glendora, the bus driver, was a bit poorly last week. So they didn't send anyone home. So we knew at the beginning of this episode that 2 people were going to be going home at the end of the episode. But if I'm really honest with you, by the time I got to the end of the episode, I'd kind of forgotten that 2 people were going home. And then when they sent 2 people home, I was like, oh, I wasn't ready for it, you know, but hey ho. So before I get into it, I am just going to go into a little bit of what I am wearing. I'll put a full-length picture of what I'm wearing. I thought, you know, because it is Activewear week, I would wear Activewear, and I've actually made everything that I'm wearing today this week. I'm going to try and do something similar each week if I have time. So I'm wearing the Blommer tank top by Paradise Patterns. I'll put all the details below. And I'm wearing the Mountain Pose pants by Hey June on the bottom. And then underneath, and here is some, because I've made many pairs of these this week. Turns out that me and Kaz both like making pants. So underneath I have got a pair of the new pattern by Tammy Handmade. And I'll put that down below. Yeah, I have made my own pants. So yeah, me and Kaz have that in common. She likes to make pants too, and so do I. So yeah, so I am wearing a me-made outfit, all Activewear for Activewear week. So, you know, getting right in there. So the first challenge, the pattern challenge, was a 3-hour challenge, and it was for a 7-panel cap. Now, I know they've made hats before a couple of times. They made like the Baker Boys style hat, and I think they've made one with another one with a peak at some point. So it was quite good when that came along. I quite like it when it's a technical pattern. And yes, and it was, you know, I think with these kinds of things, it's just a case of reading the instructions really carefully. And I think that that's what's making me really kind of look individually at all of the newbies. There's definitely different characters that are coming across, ones that definitely are reading the instructions and some that maybe aren't always reading the instructions, or perhaps have like less of an understanding of the instructions. So that was quite interesting to watch, you know, when things, you know, because obviously I don't know about you, but when I sew, if I have an instruction that I'm not sure about, I'll read it out loud to myself, and a lot of them were reading them out loud, and I was thinking, well, that obviously means that. And then what they were doing was sometimes different. And I found that really fascinating. So, yeah, that was very fascinating. So they all managed the caps in the time. I'm pretty sure every single one was finished. So turns out you only need 3 hours to make a cap. There will be some photos popping up at time to time, but if you've watched my videos before, I'll pop all of the good stuff at the end. So if you want to stay to the end, I will pop all of the photos that I put through at the end as well, to give you another chance to look. And yeah, we also in this episode found out quite a few interesting things about some more. You know, this is the thing that I love about Sewing Bee, is that each week you get a bit more, another snippet and another snippet about all of the contestants. And you know, by the end of it, they all feel like my friends. So yeah, that was really interesting. So Novello is a magistrate. Found out that. Interesting. I didn't know that before. And yeah, so they all managed to make a cap, and Esme even tried one on, and I would have put money on it would have been Patrick that tried it on, but no, it was Esme. And the hats were quite big. I mean, I've got quite a big noggin. I think they would have fitted me fine, but they did seem quite big. On little Esme, it did somewhat swamp her. So in 12th place was Jess, and in 11th place was Glendora. 10th was Orla, 9th was Novello, 8th was Kaz, 7th was Stuart, 6th was Gaynor, 5th was Yasmin, 4th was Safi, 3rd was Dan, and the I think like the top 3 were all very, they were all really good. So Dan was 3rd, Peter was 2nd, and Kit was 1st. So yeah, because you know, they were using words like bang on and, you know, that kind of thing. So they were all, I think that the top 3 contestants, there wasn't much in it, and it just tends to come to like personal taste then. So yeah, I really enjoyed that pattern challenge. Will I be running out to get a hat pattern? Probably not. I don't think it's my cup of tea for sewing. Did I find the technical sewing really interesting? Yes, absolutely. So maybe a different style of hat I might do, but yeah, I did find it really interesting. And then we were on to the transformation challenge, that Marmitey one. Do you love it? Do you hate it? What is your favourite? I don't know, but I did really enjoy this one. So it was 90-minute challenge as always, no trim, no extra fabric allowed. They were allowed to choose 3 tops, so they had to transform old vintage cycling tops. Mr. Sparkles, my husband, watched with me the second time, watched through, and he was quite upset of them cutting them up because he quite liked some of the cycling tops. I think he would have pinched them out for himself. And make it into a party outfit. They were very clear it had to be an outfit, not just a top or a bottom. It had to be an outfit. So I'm just going to talk about a few of note, a few that I really enjoyed, and a few that I found quite interesting. So Novello's I really loved. She used 3 yellow cycling tops, and so she made a full yellow dress, and with the black cycling top, she did 2 things with the black. She trimmed it at the bottom with like a fringing, which I really enjoyed, and particularly seeing fringing in something activewear, that kind of juxtaposition really interested me. And also she plaited the back and the straps, and again that kind of gave a really nice activewear vibe, but in a party dress. So yeah, that one I really enjoyed. Stuart did something really interesting, and it had like a little cutout, and I think they called it a daffodil. It definitely was flowered shape, but I think Stuart missed a trick, and I think it may be just because of the choices that he had, you know, because obviously you can only use what you've got, but the flower was kind of all yellows and oranges and beautiful, and then it just had like this navy blue stripe, which was like the skirt part of the dress, and then more navy blues and pinks on the bottom. Whereas I think if it had been more gradual colours, or he'd put the blue in the flower, I don't know, it just felt like it was a bit, rather than it being one continuous outfit, it felt like, you know, 2 separate things that were just put together. I hope that makes sense. I really loved Kit's. It really reminded me of, you know, those in the 60s, the shift dresses that have got, you know, the different colour blocking on, and they're very kind of formal, whereas Kit kind of turned that on its head, and it kind of had that feel, but it was kind of not symmetrical, and it was just, yeah, it was draped very mindfully, I guess. You know, it was really interesting. Hopefully I'll be able to pop a picture for you up on that. I really like that one, and I think that one did come top. Yes, it did. And absolutely deserved it as well. I also really loved Yasmin's. It was like a flower, and I think what she'd done is she turned that kind of on its head, because I think the flower pattern was at the bottom of the original top, and she popped it on the top and then kind of moved it down. I just thought that was, again, just an interesting way of using what you've got. yeah, so they were really interesting. And again, I will pop a picture of a few so you can see and you can decide which your favourite is. One of the more technical things that I found was Orla's, bless her heart, she couldn't quite work out whether it was Godet or Goddets. I think she called it Goddets. So a Godet is where you pop the triangle piece of fabric into the garment to kind of give it more volume. And she did a really, really good job of popping her Godets into her dress. And it did, you know, hers definitely looked the least like, you know, cycling wear at the end of it, as well as kits. But yeah, I thought that was really, really good. She didn't score too highly. I think she came 6th or 7th. And I think that perhaps some of her, because it was definitely a lot of work, and I don't think it was finished as well as it could have been. But again, I did really like that one. So Safi came in 12th in the Transformation Challenge. Kaz was 11th. Dan was 10th. Stuart was 9th. Jess was 8th. Peter 7th. Orla 6th. Gaynor 5th. Glendora was 4th. Novello was 3rd. Yasmin 2nd. And Kit was 1st again. So a double whammy. This boy Kit, not been sewing very long. 2 wins. And I think he got a win last week as well. You know, he's doing well. He's definitely one to look for. And so next was the made to measure. So the models came back, and the brief for this one was athleisure. So athleisure, basically something that you could wear from exercising to the pub or to the coffee shop. It will take you, you know, it'll take you to, I don't know, to the golf club. That's the general idea. So yeah, and this one is the made to measure, so it was really important that they fit to their models. Now, bear with me. I've got all of the pictures of all of their line drawings on my iPad because I find it's easier to remember, because there's 12 of them. I sometimes, just looking at a picture of them all together, I sometimes forget whose is whose. So I'm going to talk about Kaz's first. So Kaz made a tennis outfit, and it was inspired by Jackie Chan. And so, again, something else that we found out about Kaz, as well as her love of making pants, is that she does kung fu. So, you know, that's very exciting. So she made a kind of cropped hoodie, which is very in at the moment. I'm seeing those everywhere, in a brush French terry fabric, and then it had kind of elasticated band, stripe detail on the top underneath, and also a skirt. So yeah, definitely, you know, I could see that be, you know, take the top off, good for tennis, put the top on, great for going having a cup of coffee with your friends. So that one I really enjoyed. Then there was Yasmin. So Yasmin hers was pitch to pub outfit. So she likes to play rugby, and so she did a kind of a proper rugby top, and then had cycling shorts underneath, and it was beautifully matched with the colours, greens, yellows and reds, and then the white cycling shorts with red and yellow down the side. Again, she used French terry. She did a full button placket on her rugby shirt, which, I mean, again, I think she did quite well with the time, because there was quite a lot of work in it, but I think that she may have not quite got her buttons on. So it wasn't quite finished, but it did look very polished. I really enjoyed that outfit. Stuart's. Now, at a quick glance, Stuart's was one of my favourites. I really enjoyed Stuart's. I think because it was really simple, and sometimes simple is the best, isn't it? So Stuart made, again, for tennis, a tennis two-piece, and it was all in white, but with this absolutely gorgeous purple piping. So it had a purple zip, but the way that he had done the piping went from the top down to the shorts, so it all kind of like matched together, and it gave that kind of hourglass look to the piping, which I just thought was really beautiful, and it did look quite striking on the model. I did enjoy that one. Now we get on to Peter. So Peter did a skater boy outfit, and the judges said it was more sports than leisure because it just looked like, you know, something you'd wear to the skate park, and it did. So I think Patrick felt that it didn't quite hit the brief. For me, it just didn't look very finished or polished, and it didn't fit the model. So for a made to measure, and I mean, when I say it didn't fit the model, he had to take a good 6-inch wedge out of the back of the trousers, and obviously there wasn't time to actually change that, so he did just kind of sew at the back, and it, you know, it didn't fit, and it didn't look very tidy. The trousers, the shorts weren't hemmed, though you could see the threads hanging down. I just think Peter had a bad week. It wasn't his thing. He talked about the fact that he'd never used ribbing before. Stretch fabrics weren't necessarily his thing. So if all of those things are new to you, he also let it slip that he hadn't practiced. You know, and this is the thing with the sewing bee, you only need to have one bad week. So, and Peter definitely had a bad week. The ribbed collar didn't sit very well. Yeah. All in all, I think, and he said himself that he wasn't happy with it. So, yeah, that was a bit of a shame. And then there was Dan's. Now, as soon as I saw Dan with all of these bits and pieces on his desk, it reminded me of Pokemon. So my children were a bit Pokemon mad when they were smaller. And it was just the kind of, I don't know, the kind of breastplate, if you like, style of Dan's just looked like 2 Pokeballs to me. I don't know. It was one of those things that once I saw it, I couldn't unsee it, and it was just. But I did enjoy it. Again, I think Dan, some of his finishing techniques, if he's in a hurry, you can see he's in a hurry. So yeah, I think my advice to Dan would be for the next couple of weeks is take it nice. You know, calm it down, take it nice and slow. I mean, I know they can't go too slow, but yeah. I love Dan's creativity and all of his ideas, but sometimes I think the execution is, you know, lets him down a little bit, and it just worries me because, like, you know, you only need one bad week. So yeah, but he made an athleisure outfit with colour block panels. So there was like a red hoodie and with like pull cords. And then there was like a pull cords used of like a lacing effect on the shorts, which was very different. So, and I liked that. I liked the fact that it was different. Now we go on to gainers. So I love the idea of gainers. Unfortunately, Gainer didn't get hers finished. So hers was a roller derby outfit. So it was a top, leggings, and it was supposed to come with a skirt, but the skirt didn't appear. Which I thought was a bit of a shame because I really loved the skirt idea, and I think that that's what made it more kind of, you know, the leisure part of it. But I did really enjoy the strap detail on her top, and her model looked very comfortable in it. But yeah, at the end of the day, it wasn't finished. So yeah, so again, it's really difficult, isn't it, to fully judge something that isn't finished. I did really enjoy that one. Excuse me. Now, Glendora's Mr. Sparkles loved this one, and I wasn't sure at first. I do a lot of yoga, And I was thinking, well, would I wear that to a yoga class and then out to coffee again? And I wasn't 100% sure. But the more I looked at it, the more I enjoyed it and kind of enjoyed parts of it. So it was all in linen and stretch linen, and they were like proper wide leg yoga pants with a linen half zip top. And it did look really cool and really stylish. I don't know. I don't know whether I was just missing the kind of more sporty feel, but I guess, you know, sports are, you know, you do them in all different ways. So I don't know. What do you think of that one? Then on to Orla's. Orla's was 100% my favourite. I absolutely loved this. All the way from she was making it. So right from the start, the whole time she was making it, I knew that was going to be my favourite. There was something about the colours and the fabrics and her kind of enthusiasm for it. So again, another cropped hoodie. There was a few of those about this week with a little crop vest top underneath and some drawstring trousers. And just the way it all came together, it was all beautifully top stitched, it was all beautifully finished. She'd made a little of her own like Orla embroidered logo to go on it, so it felt very kind of on brand. It was, yeah, it was great. It was lovely. It was definitely my favourite. Yeah, it was very, very cool. Now I'm going to talk about Safi's. So Safi's combo was a combo climber. So she is a climber and she wanted her outfit to kind of, that you could go to work, you could go climbing, you could go out afterwards, and it would kind of go through. And again, Safi's ideas. Oh, if I could spend a little bit of time in Safi's brain, what fun I would have. But unfortunately, it was one of those cases where I think she just bit off a bit more than she could chew. There was so many elements to it that she just didn't have time to finish all of those elements to perfection. And there was holes in the make. The model absolutely rocked it. I did think that the cotton jersey top was all lovely, and the idea of the bag and the utility vest was great, but in the execution it just wasn't finished as well as it could have been. But it did look nice coming down the runway. It just, on close inspection, it wasn't finished as well as it could have been. On to Novello. So Novellos, I really like Novellos. The look was nice. Again, another cropped hoodie with a little keyhole bra and some wide leg yoga pants. Absolutely beautiful. I love the colours. The little cutout, I think it's really difficult, isn't it? I mean, I had to have a few goes when I was getting the measurements right for my tank top. You know, when you have to have something that fits closely to your body and then you're adding a cutout, and it didn't fit her model quite as well as it could have done, but I think she'd done a really good job, particularly in the time that they have. Yeah, so I like that one. It was up there in one of my favourites, but comparing hers with Orla's, which was a very similar outfit, Orla's definitely had it for me. And then there was Jess's. So Jess's inspiration come from Princess Di. So if you remember the paparazzi pictures of Princess Di coming out of the gym in, you know, cycling shorts and a sweater, I thought it was a really nice idea for a kind of gym to pub kind of outfit. She made a like a pink lycra unitard and then a blue sweatshirt over the top, and she made some little numbers that spelt 1991 on the front of the sweater, which she kind of appliqued on, and she was very proud of her applique. And I thought she did really well to get that done at the time, because that is something, and it did look really neat and tidy, and obviously making the whole sweatshirt and then making the unitard as well. One thing I will say is that the fit on the unitard was not the best. And again, fitting something like that is really tricky. It is really difficult, and you know, it was on the model, but yeah, it was a little bit baggy in places. But you know, again, but you have to kind of look at these things, because at the end of the day, it is a made to measure. So, but I think she did a really good job, and her model did look really cute. So I did like that one. And then on to Kit's. So Kit wanted some, I think his inspiration was boxing. So the idea, you know, you go from the gym out, it was a mesh hoodie. I loved Kit's use of fabrics. I love the fact that he went for kind of traditional stretch, you know, and sportswear fabrics, but use them in a bit of a different way. I really enjoyed that. It was like a polyester mesh over the top of his lycra sports bra, and then again he had the mesh shorts, and then shorts underneath, so because obviously mesh is see-through. So, and I did think that was very nice. One thing that I did notice as well is that Patrick did pick him up on his zip insertion of the pockets, because they were zipped pockets, and it was something that when I was watching, I did notice that Kit didn't use a zipper foot on his machine when he was putting the zips in. He was just using his regular A foot. And I mean, I know you can put a zip in with a regular A foot, but you know, if you want that precision, and I was thinking that might be because obviously Kit's not been sewing very long. That might be one of the things that he's perhaps not mastered as yet. So yeah, that I found that quite interesting. And considering that he didn't use a zipper foot, I thought he put the zips in pretty well. You know, it was a very good job. There was just one bit where you could see the top of the zip just jutting out ever so slightly. I mean, but who are we to judge that? I mean, I've put a few dodgy zips in my time. So I don't know about you, but I definitely have. But yeah, I did find that very interesting. And now I'm back to Kaz again. So that means that I've done everybody. Phew, sorry for that if that's a bit of a whistle-stop tour through those. But we have lost 2 Bs. So next week it won't be quite so many Bs, because unfortunately Peter and Safi were to go home. So Orla won the outfit of the week, yay, which I thought was definitely deserved. And Peter and Safi unfortunately both had to go home. And yeah, and you know, it's one of those things. I try not to be the judges. I let Esme and Patrick do that. They do the best job. But yeah, as I said at the beginning, because I'd forgotten that they were sending 2 people home. So it was just a bit of a shock when they said their names. I felt quite sorry for them. But I think at the end of the day, you know, it was probably the right decision. And I'm really looking forward to next week to see what the 10 get up to next week. So next week is, let me just look at my notes, is Design Icon Week. So they are going to be doing a wrap dress, and they've got some kind of like punking up, is that a word? Some upholstery. So I think they might be doing a few different skills in the in the beehive next week. And then a runway look at the end. So that should be very exciting. So I've got to now go and have a think, haven't I, about a runway outfit for next week. Doesn't give me much time, but yeah. And I'm gonna go and find Baby Sparkles and get him to watch episode 2 so that he can give you his synopsis next week. So I hope you've enjoyed my little run through, and I hope to see you again next week for episode 3. I've been Sam. Don't forget to sparkle. See you really soon.